Last week on Rochelle's Daily Wire, video edition, we talked about a student loan opinion that was in the works in the Fifth Circuit. Well, that decision was handed down on July 30, and I am sorry to say, it is a disaster for people with student loans who happen to live in the Fifth Circuit. Student loans were already difficult to essentially impossible to discharge in the Fifth Circuit, but now I think the standard makes it even more impossible to discharge student loans. As I read this new opinion called In Re Thomas, written by Circuit Judge Edith H. Jones, someone can only discharge a student loan if that person is disabled and unemployable. This opinion tells us that student loans can only be discharged if repaying the student loans imposes what Judge Jones called intolerable difficulties on the debtor. Well, it seems to me right off the bat that intolerable difficulties is not the statutory standard, which is undue hardship. Already, there was a split of circuits on the standard for dischargeability of student loans. On the more liberal end, you have the Eighth Circuit, which alone says that the court is to review the totality of the circumstances. And within the Eighth Circuit, from time to time, student loans indeed are discharged. In the middle, we have a number of circuits, like 7 or 8, which follow the so-called Brunner test, established by the Second Circuit in 1987, years before the current iteration of the statute was adopted. And then, on the far more restrictive conservative side, you have the Fifth Circuit, where, as I read it, student loans are essentially never dischargeable for anybody who ever has any possibility of becoming employed. I think it unlikely that the Fifth Circuit would grant a petition for rehearing en banc, so it is my guess that the debtor who lost in the Fifth Circuit is going to file a petition for certiorari. I certainly hope that happens because, as I said, there is a stark split of circuits on what the standard should be, because we only have two ambiguous words in the statute itself, that is to say, undue hardship. So, from my point of view, it is far time for the U.S. Supreme Court to tell us more precisely exactly what those statutory words mean. After all, I think where we are right now is a circumstance under which the courts have interpreted those bare-bone words in the statute to make discharge essentially impossible. And I'm not sure that that's what Congress intended. Well, in any event, if I've ever seen a case that is worthy of certiorari in the Supreme Court, this is it. In Re Thomas. If you have anything to do with student loans, I recommend that you read it.